Golf Central on YouTube, brought to you by the Chrome Soft Golf Ball from Callaway.
And hi again, everyone. I'm Jimmy Roberts, and this is your Golf Central update. Well, the DP World Tour is in Dubai to wrap their season. Rory McIlroy had his press conference today, and as he's been doing all year long, he had a lot to say about the state of the game and pointed comments about LIV Golf CEO Greg Norman.
I think Greg needs to go. I think he needs to just exit stage left, and he's made his mark, but I think now's the right time to sort of say, look, you've got this thing off the ground, but no one's going to talk unless there's an adult in the room that can actually try to mend fences. And if those two things happen, then things can happen. But right now, it's a stalemate because there can't be any other way. So hopefully something can happen. Who knows? But right now, I think the two separate entities, PGA Tour, European Tour, and LIV, they're just going to keep going both their separate ways, and one's a very different product to the other, and they're just going to keep going until something happens, and whether that's in the hands of a court or a judge, or if something else happens along the way, no one really knows. But right now, it seems like it's just a bit of a stalemate.
Well, from Dubai to Florida this week, the LPGA Tour ends its 2022 season by crowning the race to the CME Globe champion. The CME Group Tour Championship at Tiburon Golf Club in Naples, Florida begins Thursday. Jin Young Ko is your two-time defending champion. And here are some of the highlights from this year's LPGA season. Minjee Lee won the U.S. Women's Open by 4 strokes. Brooke Henderson became Canada's first multi-major winner at the Evian Championship. First-time winners was a theme. There were 11 of them, which ties the record for most in a season. And there were 5 multiple winners, including Henderson and Lee. And what a season it was. Joined now by Minjee Lee. Minjee, thanks for joining us. Jimmy Roberts and Jaime Diaz here in the studio. You're playing for $2 million. I don't have to tell you, that's an awful lot of money. I would expect that you will probably tell me, we're not thinking about the money, we're just playing golf. But is it really possible to play for that much money and not think about how much money you're playing for?
I mean, I guess the guys play for so much more every week.
Good answer.
No, I mean, it's no, it's definitely cool. I was able to win the US Open, and that was 1.8. So, $2 million does sound nice. So hopefully I can up my game and come out with a W this week.
Yeah, what a year that would make for you. It's already been a great year. This year for you, 4th or better 6 times. 2 wins, including a major, as you mentioned, the U.S. Open. 3rd in the standings, and yet you come into this week entirely even with the person who finished 63rd in the standings. Is that fair?
I mean, well, I guess the rules have changed here and there, but, I guess we all want an opportunity to be able to win the 2 mils, so I'm not sure if I really have a say in that because it's not the rules that I make. So, as long as I have that opportunity, I think it's okay. But it could probably change probably soon, but we'll see.
Minjee, you gained so much distance this year and you played so beautifully it showed up that distance at Pine Needles. I wonder if you could explain how you went about it and how crucial is that to an improvement for a tour player, someone of your caliber?
I think it was a little bit of technique. I got a little bit better in my technique and my swing, and also I just went a little harder in the gym and also just learned how to, give it a pound. So I think a little bit of all of that made me gain a bit more distance, which has really helped.
Yeah, and the U.S. Open is so challenging. Do you feel like it's the most difficult and toughest setup? And by winning there, in your mind, is that sort of the highest standard of women's golf? And do you count it more in your mind as far as where it ranks as a tournament?
I mean, definitely, US Open has been, one of my goals since I was really little. And, I watched Webby hold up that trophy a couple times, and it's just, always kind of been my dream to win. So, I mean, it was pretty amazing, just the competition, and also just the vibe and the atmosphere of a US Open is just different. And, I think I put the most pressure on myself, and just to get, that walk down 18, it's just no other experiences like that. So, it was just really amazing. Just to look back and at that moment is pretty cool.
Yeah, you mentioned it, and you started to go down that road talking about looking back now. But from the vantage point of a couple of months down the road from where you were, is it just something that you look back on and you really just shake your head a little bit? I mean, it's every golfer's dream, I'd imagine.
I mean, yeah, I look at the highlights now and again, and just, it takes me back there, and just how I felt and how I was playing, and I just like to remind myself where I was, and especially when maybe I'm struggling with something, and just to look back at that just gives me a little bit more confidence. So it just is nice that I get to have that for myself, and it was just such a priceless experience. It was just so cool.
Minjee, is becoming #1 a really important goal to you? And if so, or if not, what does it mean to you? Or what would it mean to you?
I mean, I've been close a couple times, and it's actually really hard mentally. You really want it so bad, but sometimes it just doesn't happen straight away. So I think I just got to persevere, and just playing good golf is gonna help me get there. So hopefully I can just focus on the things that I can control, and hopefully I can get there someday.
All right, let me get you out of here on this one. You spoke just a moment ago about how perhaps things may change in terms of the structure of this tournament. But let's broaden the question just a little bit. If you were commissioner of all of golf, what would you change?
For this tournament, or you mean like the whole tour?
For anything. For either women's golf, the LPGA, or just golf in general.
I mean, the conversation is always there, but the prize money, the difference between the men and the women, I think that's always on the table. I know our commissioner right now is really doing everything she can to, make that gap smaller, but it's always there, and any companies can come up and help us do that. So I think that's a big one. And also just in general for golf, I think the inclusiveness for everybody, just try and get different programs that could spike people's interests. I think that's always cool. And I know there's things in place right now, but it would be cool to do maybe something different, and something that includes everybody.
Well, Minjee Lee, a terrific year already, and looking forward to a big week. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.